The world has gone crazy. Everything's on fire, and keeping your nervous system regulated right now is a two-person job. So let's sit together, co-regulate, while we partake of the food of my people. Chicken nuggets, the universally recognized, autistic, acceptable, safe food. And talk about what a shit show everything is right now. So I really have been thinking, very honestly, about stopping creating on this channel, creating on any channels, going into hiding, just completely forgetting that I got an autism and ADHD diagnosis, because, you know, let's keep that on the down low, because the government might come after me. And I love a good conspiracy theory. Boy, do I. But I'm trying not to get sucked too hard into this, I don't know, toxic abyss of terrible shit that is happening on the news every day. Like, every day I wake up and it's something new that is absolutely mind-blowingly inane and idiotic. And I'm really trying very hard not to get sucked into it and not to feel like I am going to be the subject of some terrible genocide. And I know I'm not the only person who's feeling like this, because not only do I read every comment that you guys put on my post, I read comments on everybody's post, just to get a general feel of, like, what's the vibe? What's the vibe with autistics right now? And what's the vibe with neurotypicals right now? Because that's changed too. And if you watch my last video, the whole internal struggle in the autism versus autistic community, it's wild, like how hateful and angry everyone is right now. And then it just hit me out of the blue today that that's what they want. That's literally what they want. Who is this mythical they, you may ask? Well, it's not really mythical. It's the powers that be. The man. Let's just say the man. The man wants us all to be angry. He wants us all to be apathetic. He wants us all to be in a tizzy about something all the time. Because when you're upset and you're scared and you feel like there's nothing worth living for and every day is a new shitstorm to try to survive, you're not fighting the man. You're fighting to stay alive. You're fighting to survive. And the whole autism on autism violence right now, the anger between all the communities, the hatred of high support needs versus low support needs, of profound autism versus late diagnosed autism, it just smacks so much of the same racial divide and bullshit that they have kept perpetuating for decades and decades and decades. Like, look, I was a teenager in the 90s, okay? I grew up watching shows like In Living Color. White Men Can't Jump came out when I was in high school. I really thought we had this whole racism thing, like, over with. Like, we were done with it. We were all cool. Everybody was just, you know, we were all getting along. Everything was fine. And then, no, we weren't. We weren't. Maybe that's just my poor little privileged white girl view of things, but I really thought that, like, we made, like, these great strides, you know? We had really stepped beyond the concept of fighting each other and realized that it was the powers that be that were all trying to keep us down, you know? Like, I'm poor, you're poor, who cares what color you are? We're all poor, we're all struggling in the same ways. We all have the same issues with getting the rent paid and keeping the lights on and things like that, but no, it wasn't over. And now they just find new ways to make us fight ourselves, like to keep us up in arms, whether it's whatever race you are, whatever political affiliation you are. Now it's neurotypical versus autism, and it's just one thing after the other to keep everybody pissed off. And if we're all pissed off at each other, then nobody's doing anything to stop these governments, to stop these officials, to make our voices heard, to keep ourselves happy and calm and healthy. We're just riding this momentum, this wave that's being created for us by the stories that we're being fed. And it's so hard not to do that, especially if you are an autistic person like me, who you see society, the sociological patterns. You love anthropology, you love studying history, you see that things are moving in a way that they have moved in the past, that you see the parallels and the similarities to eugenics movements that happened in the 1920s and in the United States, early 1900s through actually the 1970s, to, you know, the Schlotzskys in World War II. And you can't help but draw the parallels to what is happening now. And it incites fear, because you know that this has happened before and it can happen again. And if we sit idly by and do nothing, then it's much more likely to happen again. But then you start to feel powerless. What can one little person do to stop this onslaught of just really terrible crap that is happening every day? And I'm not even talking just about the autism issues with Bobby Jr. and his whole speech that we're all just dragging through the mud right now because it was so ridiculous. I'm talking about the major changes that are being made in the United States, the dismantling of the judiciary system, all of the things that are happening that are going to take many, many years to undo. Just the federal employees that have been let go, replacing them after this administration is not going to be a snap. It's not going to be something that happens very quickly. And that was the intention. But again, when you are able to back up and see that broader picture and see all of the things that are happening, how do you not let it get you down? How do we do that? And I keep seeing this response to a lot of just completely unbased right-wing propaganda type comments on posts. It's a very common retort to just, you know, go touch grass. Go touch some damn grass. Get a hold of yourself. Level out. Quit following the cult. And I can't agree more. So right now, staying grounded is my number one priority. And what does that look like for me? It looks a lot like staying off the news, not clicking on articles that I know are going to be incendiary, that I know are going to put me in a fearful state. It looks like literally touching grass. It looks like getting my hands in the dirt, planting some plants, nurturing them, watching them grow, having something to look forward to. For me, it looks like painting, because painting brings me joy. And it looks like finding communities of other people who are not only outspoken advocates, but advocating for themselves, for their own happiness, for their own well-being, however that looks for them. I'm honestly loving Substack right now. I've put a few articles, a few notes out, but it is not driven by an algorithm. You find the people that you want. It's very slow growth on there. So, you know, if you don't go expect to get millions of followers if you start a Substack account, but going back to reading things and not listening or watching or being told what to think or how to feel about things, because my neurodivergence is very susceptible to taking on other people's emotions and other people's things and other people's problems. And you can call it a trauma response if you want. It might be. But I know that when I am around people that are constantly negative and constantly angry and constantly argumentative and looking for something to argue in everything that you say, I am miserable. I'm miserable because I can't help but absorb that. So I've removed myself from places where I feel like that. Whether that's online spaces or real life spaces, I don't want to be part of anything that makes me feel like shit anymore. Period. Yes, I want to be knowledgeable about what is happening in the world. And yes, because I do have an online presence, I do feel the need to speak occasionally to remind people what autism really is, to debunk things that are being spread as misinformation right now. And I do that, and I will do that, and I will continue to do that. But I've learned to come back to optimism, because honestly, optimism right now is the most radical thing you can do. Because like I said in the beginning, the man, whoever, wants us to be dysregulated. They want us as a whole, as a people, as a nation, as a group, all over the world, to be angry or to be apathetic, to be pessimistic, to assume the worst. And when you can see all of the possible outcomes, it's very hard not to assume the worst. Even just as a human. As humans, we are naturally negatively biased. It was a protection thing. That's how we learned to protect ourselves, by predicting the bad things that were going to hurt us, right? So it's only normal that we're doing this now with everything that's happening, learning to predict the worst case scenario so that it doesn't happen. But all that ever really does for us is keep us looking for the worst case scenario. Optimism is a choice. No one is naturally optimistic. And I would wager a guess that some of the most optimistic people I know, and probably you too, are the ones who have been through some of the toughest shit, because they made the choice to be optimistic. So I myself have been through some pretty terrible shit, and I can also look around and see all of the potential awful outcomes that can and potentially will happen from the things that are going on right now. But I, as one person, cannot stop it. I know that. And I know that if I try, and if I focus on all of those negative outcomes, it will lead me down a tunnel of depression at best, apathy at medium, and complete and total dissociation at worst. And I'm just not down for that anymore. I want to enjoy the life that I have left, even if I'm doing it to spite everyone else. So what am I going to do? I'm going to live the best life that I can to spite the man. I'm going to find workarounds for all of the things they put in place to stop me from doing that. I'm going to find ways to make my life better that work for me, even if they don't work for anybody else, even if they're not the systems that are already in place. I will create my own. So I hope that this was at least a little regulating for you. I hope you enjoyed our chicken nugget lunch. I'm sorry, I'm talking with my mouth full. How incredibly rude and socially inept. Imagine that, an autistic person being socially inept. But I do hope that whoever you are, wherever you stand on the spectrum, wherever you are in this world, whatever is happening in your day-to-day life, choose kindness, choose optimism, choose to live the best life that you can, to spite everyone that tells you you can't. And I know that is not an easy feat. I know it's not. I know the world is hard. I know that we have been beaten down. I know that the hard knocks seem never ending sometimes. I really do. And I know how privileged white girl it sounds to say, just live a good life, just live your best life, just forget everything that's going on in the world. But it's really not. I'm really not coming from a privileged perspective when I say this. I am poor. I am struggling. I am in it just like 95% of America right now. And every day is a struggle. But I am now making the conscious choice to face that everyday struggle with a sense of optimism, to return hatred and misplaced anger with kindness, and to find my happiness, however that looks for me, however I need to go about doing it. And I think that's how we win. I think that's how we win. Because we are never going to all come to a consensus on anything. On anything. On the autism spectrum language, on diagnosis, on anything much broader than that. We're not all going to come to a consensus, a decided yay or nay on anything. The only thing we can do is tailor a life that works for us. Because the powers that be aren't going to do it for us. It's not what they're here for. Really. It's not. Do they have to make it harder? No. They don't. But they are. And so, let's be radical. Let's be radical and optimistic and kind and loving. Let's live our best neurodivergent lives. The best that we can. And let's help others that are in the same spot do the same things. Okay. Thank you for partaking in the chicken nuggets with me. I'm getting really hot, so I have to go. But I have enjoyed our little chat today, and I hope that you did too. And I love you. And I will see you in the next one. Let me know what you can do to be more optimistic in the comments. Let me know one thing you can do to really live your best life. Everybody else be damned. What's that one thing? I'm sure it may help inspire somebody else, and I know that it'll help inspire me. So, thank you for watching.